Hey, what's going on, everybody? So, I got a few things on my mind in terms of basketball players and where they may be rumored to go. A couple of scenarios that are particularly affect my team, and I scrunch my face when I say that because it's so cliche. Everybody's going to the Lakers. I happen to be a Laker fan. It's trash, low hanging fruit in a way, but I want to talk about it because I know what my team need and what my team doesn't, and I also know that we're going to be big players in the trade market. I'm certain of that. We have pieces that may be able to net us somebody good, not too good, but we could probably improve in some areas with the pieces that we have to trade. Couple them with few picks, maybe some second rounders. I don't know what our pick situation looks like because we gave away quite a bit for Anthony Davis, but we still have some pieces on the board that I think we can move to get someone. So my thing is the first player I want to mention in this situation is probably the guy that everybody expects to be moved. Uh, Clearly, he didn't have a good showing in these playoffs, so his value is lower than maybe it would be in most situations, which is I think is a bad thing for him, but a good thing for a team that's trying to trade for him because he is a superstar caliber player. Ben Simmons is a guy that I'm looking at, and he doesn't fit everywhere very well, and the Lakers are no exception to that, unfortunately. Here's the deal. If you would have asked me 6 months ago if I could put together a package to get Ben Simmons, um, would I make that trade? I'd have said, of course. Are you kidding me? Yes. I'm not going to overpay for him. I'm not going to get Anthony Davis or LeBron for him. But if you want to take a couple players here and there, yeah, for sure. But what we saw this past playoffs has really made it so that not too many people really want to build around Ben Simmons or put him in a situation that is absolutely not catered for him. So what the Lakers have, unfortunately, is a need for shooting. And what he is someone that refuses to shoot. Cut and dry, bad fit. What Ben Simmons is very good at, of course, is playing defense. We could certainly use his defensive help, his athleticism, his rebounding is always necessary. But unfortunately, like a lot of pure defenders, they have offensive deficiencies, and he has an offensive deficiency that is undeniable. One, it's more than one, but the one that's undeniable is his unwillingness to shoot the three, and the fact that teams are able to collapse on his teammates and are able to play off of him in such a way that is damn right disrespectful in terms of the 3 point arc and where he can stand versus where the defense is going to play him. It's just like, yo, they're damn near sitting at the free throw line when this dude is at the 3 point line. I mean, it's getting to a point where it's like, okay, he's a liability in so many different ways just because of that one dynamic. But then you couple in his free throw regression. He was never a good free throw shooter, but what we saw out of him recently was some of the worst free throw shooting we've seen out of anyone ever. And so, if his free throw shooting is going to be that poor, obviously, you don't want to bring that to the Lakers team as well because we've been a decent free throw shooting team, but over the years, historically, we haven't been great. So we don't want to continue that process. We understand the importance of being able to shoot free throws and shoot the three, and I think it would be quite counterproductive to bring in a player who's deficient in both of those areas. So there is no more conversation needed to be had in regards to Ben Simmons coming to the Lakers. I just simply do not like the fit offensively. Um, One thing I do like about Ben Simmons, and one thing that everyone will appreciate about Ben Simmons, is that he can pass the rock. He is a superior passing talent. But the problem is you need to get a coach in there that believes in him, that identifies that gift, and that is able to make it so that he's able to do that without playing the point guard position. He has to. You're gonna have to Jokic him. You're gonna have to use him in that regard. But the problem is you can't really Jokic him, so to speak, because he is a liability shooting the ball in some key areas. So he's gonna have to work that out. Um, and any situation he goes into, he's gonna have to understand that if he doesn't work that out, then the game is gonna pass him by. So I've mentioned all this in a previous video. If you viewed that video, you already know what I'm saying here. Has been said before, but I think it's most important to say now that we're going to be talking about him going forward in terms of trade destinations and where he fits. until we get some inclination that he's improving, I think it's going to be hard to move him. I think it's going to be very hard for the Philadelphia 76ers to move Ben Simmons for the type of trade package that they're hoping to get. I've heard names like C.J. McCollum and Bradley Beal. Again, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, of course. Now that we've seen him in these previous playoffs, no. And it would be wise not to trade him for one of those guys because those are the type of players he needs to play with. So if you're getting rid of a C.J. McCollum and you're getting rid of somebody like that, you please believe you're going to need shooting around him. And that's the next conversation. Ben Simmons going to Portland for C.J. McCollum. It's a bad fit. I know a lot of people said they like that move. I do not like that move offensively because what you're asking Dame to do is play with less space. Now, we know Dame, if anybody can play with less space, is Dame because he can shoot from the damn logo comfortably, from half-court line comfortably. But the problem is what's going to happen is defenses are going to be able to close in on him more, close in on him tighter because of Ben Simmons' presence and in unwillingness to shoot the ball. You are putting Dame in positions to where not only is the floor going to shrink, but now because he's going to be taking on more defensive attention, that leaves him more vulnerable for injuries. And being that he is starting to enter his prime, he is not a young player at this stage in the game, it would be wise to not put him in positions to have less space, more physical defensive presence against him. And that's exactly what Ben Simmons' presence is going to provide. Portland will be a significantly better defensive team, of course. Blah, blah, blah. But he does not help them in areas that are going to make Dame's life better, especially if you give away C.J. McCollum, someone who creates space with his shooting ability, who creates opportunities to score when Dame isn't on the floor by doing what it is that he does naturally, mid-range expert he is. You do not want to give up somebody like that for Ben Simmons. Your entire style of play is going to change. If Ben Simmons doesn't have the ball in his hands, he's utterly useless. What you would be doing is taking the ball out of Dame's hands if you're trying to effectively use Ben Simmons at his best. It's just a horrible, horrible fit as well. So, again, you're going to have trouble moving Ben Simmons. And I think something as small as him shooting 75% from the free throw line could be a massive difference. Because at least if he's a threat from the line, I can justify the space that he's going to be taken away from not shooting because his aggressiveness is going to make it so that he can at least barrel in the paint with his 7-foot body and possibly do little jump hunks and dunk on people smaller than him and things of that nature. You can kind of use him as a traditional old school 4 or even a stretch 5 that doesn't stretch the floor, but someone with size who's extremely gifted defensively. So there would be ways I would play Ben Simmons if I were to acquire him on any team, but the problem is because he's such a crappy free throw shooter, there's really just the paint. There's no justifying even putting him on the floor as a traditional old school power forward. You know what I mean? He's utterly unplayable. You know, what people said about Lonzo Ball several years ago is exactly what Ben Simmons has turned into. And that's the scary part. Because people would always talk, oh, Ben Simmons is gifted. Lonzo Ball can't shoot. Lonzo Ball can't shoot from the line. Lonzo Ball's scared. He can't finish. Lonzo Ball can't do nothing. He can't barely pass. He's not aggressive. Now we're looking at Ben Simmons and saying, yo, that's who Ben is. Lonzo is turning into who we thought Lonzo would be. Ben has not at all on the offensive side of the ball. And I do want to preface on the offensive side of the ball because many players have made careers off of being gifted defensively but not so great offensively. But the problem is not many of those players make it in today's NBA. Not many of those players can stay on a roster making $160, $200 million. It's impossible in this era. You cannot do it. And being that Ben Simmons doesn't have crappy form shooting the ball, I've seen him shoot the ball. His form isn't bad. He's just going to have to work on it, and that's that. So, moving on from Ben Simmons finally, I want to get back to C.J. McCollum because he is probably going to be on the move. And I'm thinking about another place he may go. Obviously, my team would C.J. McCollum fit in, and what package would I be willing to give up for him? That depends on how much he makes, where he is in his contract, and honestly, I haven't done my homework on that. But I will say, if I'm to give up a guy like Kyle Kuzma in order to make that happen, of course, I would be happy to do so. I think Portland should want more, but the centerpiece of that trade should definitely be centered around the services of Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma is a guy who has regressed quite a bit, not to the level of a Ben Simmons, but certainly has not improved over the last several years. Uh, he is somebody who has an ability to rebound the ball. So if to say that he hasn't improved is a little bit overstated, because there are areas of his game where you see improvement. He's more efficient defensively. He's always been a guy that gives you effort defensively. But in terms of him being more effective, his defensive effort turning into statistics, he's slowly but surely starting to come around in that area. Problem with Kyle Kuzma is he's highly reliant upon a setup point guard to consistently get him the ball. He's a weapon best used by a guy like Rajon Rondo, Lonzo Ball, and to an extent, LeBron James, even though that connection has not panned out the way we hoped it would, because of the inconsistency of a guy like Kyle Kuzma from behind the arc, as well as his inconsistency just in general overall. He needs to work on some things, but I think on a team like Portland, he can create some breathing room for a guy like Dame Lillard, another power forward, small forward guy. And I think with a new coach, depending on who they bring in, if that coach is creative enough, he will use Kyle Kuzma in other areas as well. I think you should put the ball in Kyle's hands sometimes, see if he has any point guard ability, because I've seen him pass the ball in some good ways and create plays for others in key moments. And I just wonder if he has that ability after playing with LeBron James for this many years, 2 years that is. If he picked up anything in that regard, I wouldn't be surprised if he's good as a guard, because I haven't seen people even playing him as a four. They've tried to play him as a stretch four most of the time, sometimes some three. But when I've seen him line up at the two, he's done good things. Why? Because it allows him to have some success in the areas of effort. He's not the strongest power forward despite being 6'10". He doesn't have a very menacing body. But if you put him on guys that are smaller than him, he can rebound over them. He can do natural ability type stuff in terms of open court creativity, finishing at the basket, at the rim. This dude is somebody who I once called an artist, because I've seen him create plays on the fly, mid-court, defender in the way, he'll create some type of Euro step in out of mid-air. Like, he's an artist. He creates. And he hasn't had opportunities in the open court like I believe he should have. He's gotten away from that. He's also somebody who, if he has his legs underneath him, he can get into a space where his shot looks like some Klay Thompson stuff. Now, we haven't seen that in a long time. We haven't seen his shot be that pure since pretty much his rookie season. But what I saw, I haven't forgotten. The dude, when he's at his best and he's in rhythm, when he has his leg strength, he's a gifted scorer, man. Very gifted. He still has the ability to tap into that, but he just has to get back into into the swing of things. And most importantly, I think he should be in a young situation, a young group. Especially now that he has an NBA championship, there is no need for him to be in a situation with a bunch of people chasing rings. He needs to be in a situation where he can grow with players his age and now use the experience he's had winning a championship to help a team along. I'd like to see him on a team like Charlotte, New Orleans. I'd like to see him in one of those situations where there's young talent there. Utah, since he played for Utah in college, he played in Utah. I think that would be a good spot for him. There are a lot of places that Kyle Kuzma fits in to where he could play with young talent. Phoenix, that's a very good spot for Kyle. Sacramento, as he's been rumored, I know they like him a lot. I think that would be a good spot for Kyle. There are a lot of places he could go and really contribute. I think what would also be intriguing is if he were to go somewhere where he can be more of a focal point offensively. A place like Orlando, where they don't have really anything in place. They could start building around him along with some of the other players that they found on that roster that can go, and they have a few. So that would be a good spot for him. Now that LaMarcus Aldridge has been moved on from San Antonio, I could see San Antonio being a solid spot for Kyle Kuzma. He would get a chance to do his thing. So it's like there's a lot of places where I think he could flourish. But the problem is, LA isn't one of them. This roster, this is the thing though. This is the thing about the new season, and every new season, really for every team, you can build differently. Now, whatever the team used to be, you can scrap that, and suddenly you move a few pieces around, and now the exact thing that you need is the very thing you didn't need with the previous group. So maybe we build something that Kyle can fit on. But I think the organization is at a point where they're ready to move on from Kyle Kuzma. That's what I think. I think most of the fans are ready to get there. It's just like anything else. Ben Simmons in Philadelphia, same thing. We could love a player, but watching their development isn't fun. And if that development doesn't come along within the first 5 or 6 years, it is time to move on. You are not able to develop the player. The player is not able to become their best self with you. And now it's time for a change of scenery. And sometimes you just don't see that. I think about a guy like Gary Harris. He's the best example of that in my mind because he played with the Denver Nuggets for like 10 years. 10, 11 years seemed like. Just barely got out of there this past season. But there was a time, maybe in his 5th or 6th year, where he was starting to peak. And I felt like if he could have gotten to a better situation at that time, maybe his career could have taken a different trajectory. But he stayed in Denver too long. Guys got in front of him over time, getting drafted or what have you, and he just got pushed to the back of the bench, a couple injuries here and there, and now he's just a role player. But it's like, that's what ends up happening to guys, and I don't want to see that happen to Kyle Kuzma. I don't want to see that happen to Ben Simmons. And that's exactly what happens if these players who aren't developing properly stay in these situations pretty much any longer, in my opinion. Like, it's time to move them on. So I can totally see that. I would not want to trade them for one another. Now, if I'm Philly, I definitely would take Kyle Kuzma for Ben Simmons just to get Ben Simmons off my squad at this point. But I would tell the Philadelphia 76ers that you're not going to feel a whole lot better about Kyle Kuzma than you do about Ben Simmons. They obviously don't have the same problems, but Kyle Kuzma is a frustrating player. He is. It just is what it is. He's frustrating, bro. And that's what people need to understand. But every player is frustrating to watch develop. I can't stress that enough. Every player that I've witnessed has been frustrating to develop. Even the ones that have great poise, they still have things about their game that you just like, oh my God, man, Rook, come on, get it together. It's just part of it. So yeah, rookie seasons are not the determining factor for a guy coming of age. That's why I speak the way that I do in that regard. A guy can be a rookie, in my opinion, for 7 years. It'd take him that long to shake off the cobwebs and figure out what it means to be a pro. So as far as this idea that a guy, he's in his 3rd year, his 4th year, he should get it. No, sometimes it really does take that long for guys to get it. And then when they do get it, they finally become what it is that they're going to become, whether it's great or not. They eventually become something you don't mind having on your team or even want on your team, but it takes a while. And some of these superstars, Giannis Antetokounmpo, some of these other guys, they were paid as if they had made it in terms of their skills, as if they had mastered the game. And I wonder if that affected how they developed going forward. Because a guy like Giannis, he should have better basketball skills by now. His footwork should be better by now. His ability in the open court should be better. His handle should be tighter. Those are things that he could work out. I don't know that he has trouble in his work ethic or anything, but what I'm saying is when you give a guy all the money in the world, I don't really need to work on the intangibles. You're giving me MVPs. I've earned these MVPs, but you're giving them to me. So, why do I need to work on my skills? I've already won. And that's what ends up happening to a lot of these guys. I think a guy like Ben Simmons might be like that, to where he ain't really work on his game like that. He rich, famous, dating celebrities. I mean, why I wanna mess up my time and enjoying my life when I'm sitting up here, living my best life? All I got to do is just continue to show up, and they're gonna pay me. And that's what's happening. These players are not developing properly. So let's zigzag back to where we were at. Now, let's talk about C.J. McCollum going to the Lakers. Since we already talked about Kyle Kuzma, what I think his deficiencies are if he were to go to Portland or anywhere else. Let's talk about C.J. Now, C.J. I don't know as much about because I don't watch the Portland Trail Blazers like that, but what I do know is C.J. is a pure efficiency shooting guard scorer. Pure. and he's not bad setting people up too. He's pretty good at playmaking and things of that nature. He doesn't suck at that. But he's a guy. On his best night, he dropped 50. He dropped 50 on high percentage shooting. Okay, that's what he is. Now he has had some injury issues, but he's a smart, savvy basketball player. Fantastic handle, mid-range excellence, 3-point efficiencies, a very good 3-level scorer, free throw shooting, all good. I don't know him defensively. To speak on him defensively, I would be lying. I just am not aware, would have to learn. Rebounding the ball, same thing. He's a small player, he's a slight player. I don't imagine he's all that efficient rebounding like that, but I will learn if he were to come to this team. But the one thing's for certain is CJ McCollum, when he was drafted, his numbers were almost identical in terms of his shooting numbers to Dame Lillard. Essentially, what they were drafting was a second Dame Lillard, and he has panned out to be just that. Now, he did have slow development because he missed his rookie season. I haven't forgotten that. He went down with that. But he came back second year, rookie season. He came and played well. And then from there, he's really had some flashes of greatness. And I think he made an all-star team, if I'm not mistaken. So he's an excellent co-star to Dame Lillard. He has his own podcast. He's somebody who has his own voice. He's going to speak up when he feels something. Very, very, very thoughtful in that way. And I think LA would be a place he'd be comfortable in to help him in his off-the-court endeavors. I'm pretty sure he would love to be here for some of that. So, it would be a great fit. I would love to have CJ. Like I said, I got more to learn than there is to say. But, from what I've seen and what I know, this is an elite level scoring talent who's coming into his own, who's still a young player. So that's what I think of CJ McCollum. If I'm Portland, I'm definitely not trading him. Let me make that very clear. I'm not trading him. But some of the things that Portland has done lately, particularly that trade they did with Toronto and bringing in Norman Powell, I just thought was kind of a lateral move. So if they're on that type of time, who knows what they do next. But one thing's for certain, they're on the clock because Dame Lillard, he's starting to make, send signals out that he's not happy. And, once he hits free agency, if he bolts, it's over with. Like, there's no hope. Once Dame leaves, it's over. So they had better figure out a way to keep him happy. Try to do what Milwaukee did with they should be able to do that. If Milwaukee could do it, Portland could do it. That's what I say to Portland. They fired their coach. That was the right move. They're treating Melo kind and keeping him going. Rekindled his career. That's a good sign. So a lot of things are pointing toward Portland being in the right direction. Hey, if Phoenix can turn it around, why not Portland, right? But they got to make good decisions from here. And trading for Ben Simmons, probably not the move. Trading for Kyle Kuzma, giving up CJ McCollum is not the move. But they do have to figure out what the move is because they got to improve. So, 23 minutes. Yeah, I could talk basketball all day. Y'all know that. Think I got everything out. Forgive me for speaking on Ben Simmons again. That's probably like the third time I made that particular conversation happen. Yeah, kind of unnecessary. But it is what it is. My name is BDF44. Thank you guys for watching. I'm out.